Hello and welcome back. My name is Jeremy. I am a fabricator and mechanic, and I am building a 1937 Auto Union Type C replica. This video is going to be slightly different. I have actually written a script, and I'm going to go over, probably in a several part video, the history of Auto Union and how it's relatively unknown today. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So I've written a script, and I'm going to do this in a manner similar to a channel I've seen called Brain Blaze, where he will read the script and kind of give his thoughts as he goes along. I'm nowhere near as polished, so forgive me if it's kind of terrible. But basically, we're going to go over the introduction of Auto Union, where Auto Union came from, what was going on in Germany at the time, that kind of thing. And this beginning portion is just going to be that, and we'll get into more of the Auto Union racing program in the next video. So, the Auto Union racing story. The nickname Silver Arrows was earned by the German Grand Prix teams during the pre-World War II years. They gained this moniker from a pair of simple facts. Firstly, they were distinguished from their competition by their silver color, Germany's national racing color, and helpfully, the color of their aircraft-derived aluminum bodywork. There's a myth, actually, about that during the introduction of this period in the early 30s, I believe, a German team, probably Mercedes, I think, showed up to an event, and they were so close to the weight limit that they had to stay up all night scraping the previous German racing color, white, all that paint off the car with razor blades, and they did that, and that made them make weight. So I don't think that's true, but it's an awesome story of cutting it super close with the engineering and then not thinking about, oh, we still have to paint it. But after that, anecdotally, Germany was then silver, because, I don't know if you know this or not, but the historical precedent back in the day was every country had its national racing color. So, for example, Germany, silver, Britain is green, Italy is red, France, I believe, is blue, but there's a whole bunch of different colors that are kind of like national racing colors. So, secondly, and more importantly, they were spectacularly fast. Silver Arrows. Virtually peerless, many other nations' best attempts fell far short. They were amongst the most successful racing cars of all time, and their makers, Mercedes-Benz and Auto Union, would dominate the Grand Prix circuits for the bulk of the 1930s, only stopped by the outbreak of World War II. This story will focus on Auto Union, our home team. This story will focus on Auto Union, the lesser-known half of the legendary Silver Arrows. The Auto Union story is one of the underdog going toe-to-toe with the favorite and achieving parity. Where did this contender for the throne come from? Who dared challenge the legendary German firm of Mercedes-Benz? To understand this, we must start at the beginning. The NSDAP's rise to power in Germany and their spending programs, which enabled the best Grand Prix cars in the world to be built. So, quick aside, NSDAP, I can't say the N-word.
What do you mean by that?
Not that N-word. The 1930s to 45 Germany N-word. That I can't say that on YouTube, or I'm afraid bad things will happen. So we're just going to call it NSDAP. That's its official name. So anyway, we will start in 1930, where a great many events will unfold to get the ball rolling, which will become Auto Union. First, the National Socialist Workers' Party, the NSDAP, wins 18% of the votes in the Reichstag during the September elections. This is in 1930, remember. This boosts them to become the second largest political party in Germany and proves that they are becoming a serious contender for control within Germany. Meanwhile, in Stuttgart, a professor, Ferdinand Porsche, you may have heard of him, he's slightly known, starts High Efficiency Engines Limited with the financial backing of Adolf Rosenberger, a successful businessman and former racing driver. So also, High Efficiency Engines Limited has a very long German name that I don't want to butcher, so we're just going to use the American names, or the English, names of these things for better comprehension, easier comprehension. So here, Porsche was joined by the talented engineer Karl Rabe, whom he had worked with at Austro-Daimler before World War I. A number of engineers from Steyr would also be brought on board during this initial period. I believe it's the same Steyr that makes, I don't know if they're still around, made weapons for Austria all the way back World War I to through into the 80s at least, when they lost a military contract to Glock in Austria. So they got a bunch of engineers from Steyr. Fast forward to 1932, and the NSDAP will pull in 37% of the total vote by July, making them by far the largest political party in Germany, and setting Adolf Hitler on his way to absolute control of Germany. Also in 1932, our focus, Auto Union, was formed by the initial merger of 3 smaller automotive companies. The lead in this merger was an auto manufacturer named Horsch that was known for manufacturing higher-end luxury cars at a fairly reasonable price. The second of these companies is a much more familiar name, Audi, which was formed by Dr. August Horsch after he had sold the aforementioned company bearing his name in 1909. However, by that time, 1932, it was owned by J.S. Rasmussen, who also controls the third name on our list, a motorcycle and car maker called DKW, Das Kleine Wunder, which is the little wonder. After this merger, the new company would go on to buy another small manufacturer of cars, commercial vehicles, typewriters, and bicycles called Wanderer. So those 4 companies will become the 4 rings of Auto Union's logo, which is the same 4 rings that now is the Audi logo. Those 4 rings are from this 1932 merger of these 4 companies. All of these were based in Eastern Germany, which is important later in the story, not this episode, but later in the overall Auto Union story. All of these were based in Eastern Germany. Horsch and Audi are in Zwickau. Those are the 2 big companies, remember, so those are in Zwickau. That's where the bulk of Auto Union's development and manufacture will take place. DKW is in Berlin-Spandau, and Wanderer in Siegmar, which I could have butchered, but I don't know. Meanwhile, however, the rest of the world was resuming the racing, which had been halted by World War I. The incredible technological development of the war was almost immediately put to use in the racing world. In particular, the advances in both power production and streamlining brought about by ongoing aircraft development in the interwar period led to explosive advancement. Grand Prix had begun to see cars which were able to produce incredibly high power outputs that far exceeded the abilities of concurrent chassis advancement. More importantly, the safety systems of the tracks and cars were basically non-existent by today's standards, and the racing was becoming more and more deadly as the cars became ever faster. So a running theme we will have going through this once we get into the actual racing is how many fatalities there are. It is almost non-stop. Every year, multiple drivers die. At this point in time, seatbelts weren't even a concept. No helmets, nothing. Racing suits were probably cotton, like anti-flammability, and they used horrifically toxic and caustic fuels, nitrobenzene and things of that manner. So when they inevitably caught on fire, it was horrific. Just no safety. Safety wasn't even a concept. The Grand Prix sanctioning body of the time, the Association Internationale des Automobiles Club Reconnaissance, which is now the FIA that runs overseas Formula One rules, are forced to restrict the rule set that the cars must abide by. To help formulate this new rule set, they are rumored to consult with many racing and automotive design experts, which coincidentally included none other than Professor Porsche himself. Foreshadowing? This gave him basically insider knowledge of the coming rule changes, which are what he designs his new racing car to exploit. During this time, Hitler is turning around Germany's economy by gearing up for war. Rebuilding the shattered German military requires the people's support for funding, and this will be achieved by proving Germany's superiority in every possible way to her people. All sporting pursuits are strongly encouraged, especially anything that will showcase technological developments. Huge funding programs are set up to facilitate development, and racing gets added to the list of possible projects to showcase. Germany should have a dominant racing team to demonstrate the highly advanced state of their technological developments. Mercedes is the clear favorite as they already have a well established racing program and are also highly involved in the aircraft industry. Very importantly, they are a leader in the development of high output aero engines, which are crucial to reestablishing Germany's military power and proving to the world that they are a legitimate power player in Europe once more. So to tie all this together, in 1933, Auto Union has arranged to meet with, now Führer, Hitler, to discuss their proposal to build a race car designed by Porsche. This meeting had been set up by Baron Klaus von Watson, chairman of the board of directors for Auto Union, and would include Professor Porsche. Since they felt that neither of them really looked all that ideally Germanic, they brought along a blonde-haired, blue-eyed fellow by the name of Hans Stuck. He will also be very important later in the story. But if you look at Porsche, he's not really, Aryan enough for this time period. Stuck was already a quite famous racer and rumored to be pressuring Hitler, whom he'd met through a hunting acquaintance, to help fund a German racing program to compete internationally. This meeting started off fairly poorly for the Auto Union representatives, as Hitler informed them that the government's racing car funding program had already been awarded to Mercedes just weeks prior. So, get lost, Turkey. We already got a race team. He also felt no reason to change this, as Auto Union had no racing experience and Mercedes was already an established world-class contender even before World War I. Professor Porsche argued, however, that he, in fact, did have a great deal of experience designing successful race cars and engines. Between this reassurance from Porsche, who Hitler already knew of and had met in 1926, and the urging of Stuck, Hitler decided that the 450,000 Reichsmarks annual funding would be equally split between Mercedes and Auto Union. I'm sure Mercedes was thrilled about that. Insert Toto Wolff slamming his fist on the table. Added to this would be a 20,000 Reichsmarks bonus for first place, 10,000 for second place, and 5,000 for a third place finish. So there's a lot of money on the line here just from the government funding, not to include any winnings they will get from racing itself. While this caused a great deal of dismay at Mercedes, again, Toto Wolff banging on the table and throwing his headset. While this caused a great deal of dismay at Mercedes, it was the backing needed to realize the Auto Union racing program and build the Porsche-designed P-Wagon, which would go on to become the Auto Union Type A in 1934. It is worth pointing out that Auto Union was never as capable financially as Mercedes due to the spread out nature of their 4 separate factories and their lesser known name. So much like before the cost cap in Formula One, a few years ago, Mercedes was just dumping funding into race car development, and that's what it takes to go fast, is cash. It is unknown how much Auto Union would go on to spend on their racing program, but Mercedes would be rumored to spend approximately 10 times their government-funded 225,000 Reichsmarks on their program each year. The Auto Union team would always struggle to find adequate funding, but would go on to rival the giant Mercedes on the track. During the 1930s, these two German companies will produce the most successful racing teams to that date and go on to realistically only have each other as rivals on the tracks in the coming years. Thus, our groundwork is laid and the silver arrows will explode onto the Grand Prix scene in 1934, but that is a story for the next episode. So, that's going to be it for this one. Closing thoughts. It's very interesting to me how much things change and yet they stay the same, because even back then, just as it is today, the way to be the best Grand Prix team, F1 team, whatever, is to have the most cash. If you got the most money, you can literally buy your way to success because you can hire the best engineers, you can have the best facilities, you can get the best possible opportunities. It's just nonstop that money makes racing go round. So, I'm not sure when the next one of these is going to come out. I'm working on the script currently. I'm not used to writing scripts, so we'll see. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, the whole YouTube BS you got to do. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.